Welcome back. My name is Betty Suchar, and as Chris said earlier, this is our 4th philosophy conference, and we never knew whether we would be here in year 4. So we thank you for all of your support, and we do hope to be able to continue. Now, our speaker for today is an enthusiast for philosophy, and at his University of New Rochelle, he has been developing the philosophy department, and I think converted it from a handful to way over 100. So we can see that he is a good speaker, and he also teaches in Europe, and so he's quite familiar with the continental philosophers, especially the German 20th century philosophers. He's recently published a book on the ethics of uncertainty, and he tells me now that he's writing a book about love. So that's rather appealing. But today we're going to hear him on the topic of poetic becomings, a sensing of the good. So if we could welcome Michael Anker.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. It was a great dinner last night, and unfortunately we slept in, so it was that good of a dinner. So thank you for the hospitality thus far. It's been fantastic. My friends are here with me, and they've been having a really nice time. So it's our first time in Camden, so it's been wonderful, and again, thank you so much. So I basically was going to talk and then sort of have questions after, but if there are any questions that come up while I'm speaking, I think maybe we can have a discussion while I'm talking. It feels like a good enough crowd that you won't destroy me while I'm speaking, and then I'll lose my track. And so if you do have a really important pending question while I'm talking, please feel free to ask, okay? Okay. So first of all, I just want to thank Greg for the communication that we had to make this happen, or that you made happen, and Nico for really starting it, and then Susan for everything that she did to get me here. So that was very nice. Okay, in regard to the topic, thinking about the good, was immediately interesting to me, being that much of my research and writing over the years has in some form or another circled around the idea of thinking itself. So I'm very interested in the idea of thinking, and I'm kind of suggesting here a Heideggerian sense of thinking. So perhaps what I'm trying to do today is connect thinking to ontology, phenomenology, language, and then ethics, which is what I think we're here to discuss today in relation to the good. So while I was researching and writing on this topic, I was motivated from some of the material to integrate it into this new book that I'm working on, Love. I was talking last night about love, and for me it's not so much it's kind of like a concept of the good. It's not really a fixed idea for me. It's something that I have to work in relation to. So I'm very interested in the idea of relation. So in a phenomenological sense, for me, the relation to the good is of importance today, which is why in my title I say sensing the good. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the work of Jean-Luc Nancy, the French philosopher, who pays a lot of attention to the double meaning in sense, because sense can mean sense, like the way that we sense the world and feel the world, but it can also mean what the world means to us. So it has meaning and sensibility at the same time. So while I was researching this, I decided that part of my talk today is actually going into my new book. So I'm very much interested in your questions that you'll ask me today. I know I've already had them today or last night when I was at the dinner, and they were very stimulating questions. So I'm hoping that some of those questions manifest themselves into my new book. So basically, I decided to approach the topic from different angles. So each angle that I'm attempting will sort of try to give an entry point into thinking about the good. Now, it's also my attempt to bring these angles at times together. And not that I'm trying to reach an absolute meaning, but I'm trying to sort of weave them together, again, for a sensibility. So, on the other hand, basically, I want to try to open our thinking today toward thinking as a relation to the good itself. With the time of absolutes very far behind us, I believe, we can find meaning in the world, perhaps without a reference to a fixed or stable concept of the good. So how can we gain a sense of what it means in our time to ethically exist, act, or make decisions within a global framework of uncertainty and undecidability? These questions today will guide my inquiry. So the breakdown of absolutes, or I'm going to start referring to that as metaphysics, began a long time ago in the history of Western philosophy. And I don't want to trace the entire process here, but I'll simply point us to, and I know you all read, because I talked to your group, a lot of Nietzsche, but I think that Nietzsche's idea of perspectivism really opened the door for thinking about the good today not as an absolute, but to think about it as, well, first of all, to think about it, because we wouldn't be thinking about it if we knew it, right? I mean, that's why we're here. It's something that we have to try to reach. It's not something that we have. It's not a possession. So I think that Nietzsche's perspectivism opened that door in a good way, and also in a, I guess we could say in a turbulent, but it also gave us a lot of insecurities that I think we have to deal with now in the modern time. I also am pointing here to Heidegger's notion of destruction, and that's not necessarily in the negative. It's something that's more similar to deconstruction in my mind. And so I think that a lot of Derrida's work, and I heard there was a discussion about Derrida earlier, so I'm hoping we'll continue talking about that. I actually was fortunate enough to work with Derrida before he passed away, and it was probably the highlight of my academic time. So really what I think is that what Nietzsche and Heidegger and then Derrida gave us is where we are today. I think that we even if we're not in a philosophical circle, I think our mindset and our sensibility, and I know the word sensibility already brought up a lot last night, so, but I think that where we are is through their thinking. So, in my mind, this threefold critique, thinkers, broke down metaphysical thinking, and they brought us to an entire collapse of absolutes. This opened the space for new possibilities, but on the other hand, as I said, it also closed down a lot of securities in the world. Even outside philosophical and academic circles, these three thinkers have definitely had an impact on modern times. And all you have to do is sort of look at, I think I read an article in the New York Times and they were using the term deconstruction. You keep seeing these terms. I'm not saying that they necessarily use them in a right way.